I'm excited beyond belief. Through your message, I have really come a long way as far as, I don't know why all of a sudden I'm feeling choked up.
It's in the air.
Take a deep breath. I've come a long way through your message and realigning myself with my source, and I am so aware of the universe opening doors for me, and things just have been going for me very swimmingly, and I'm just so grateful for that. But I know that there's still a lot of resistance with regards to the relationship that I have with my mother. I've recently been aware of the term narcissistic personality, and I think that applies to her. And she's never been diagnosed as such, but she's definitely, in my opinion, my very humble opinion, and I really honestly feel I have a nervous system disorder, and they say it's hereditary, yet there's no sign of it in any of my mother or father's side. I often wonder if it was because of her that it manifested in myself. Maybe in her womb, she's just very negative. She's just, poor me. She's the victim. She never takes responsibility for anything that's gone wrong in her life. She's been married 5 times, yet it was every single man that she brought into her existence that was their fault that things didn't work out. And how do I release it, I guess, is my question.
Why are we talking about her?
I don't want to talk about her. And I moved to San Antonio in an effort to get away from the dysfunction of my family.
It's just fine. You do want to talk about her, and that's all right too. But the reason that we ask you why we're talking about her is because we have a really good answer to that question. So we like to ask the questions that we have really good answers to, just in case you don't ask it. Whenever you are standing, wherever you are standing, there is this powerful compulsion to try to explain why you are standing there. So the reason that you began by talking about your mother was because you were leading up to explaining why things are not going so well for yourself. In other words, it was a little while before you began explaining whatever this disorder is that somebody is assigned to you. And we think that what happens with so many is you sometimes find yourself not where you want to be, and that is infuriating because at every level of your being, you know that you are powerful and you know that you ought to be able to get to where you want to be. So when you're standing in a place that's different from where you want to be, then there's this tendency to try to explain how you got there. And one of the most popular explanations has to do with your mother. Not just with you, almost everyone, because they care more about you, they've focused more about you, they have more of an energy connection to you than anyone that you'll ever meet. In other words, you create these vibrational bonds as you think about one another. And so as your mother thinks about you, as you think about her, you create this sort of intertwining that is part of why you're wanting to use that as the explanation. Now, none of that's very important. Don't listen very hard to any of that. We just wanted to sort of get that out there. Remember, we were talking about Jerry and Esther's navigational system and how Magellan never says, "Where have you been?" or "How did you get there?" And yet there is this tendency to want to explain how long I've been here and how I got here. I think I came through the route maybe of my mother. And what we want to say to you is, never mind any of that. Let's just jump onto this vibrational meter wherever it is, and let's see if we can decide where you are in your destination from where you are to where you want to be. And can you feel how powerful that is? In other words, never mind, I have been here and I have been here and I have been here. Never mind our relationship was this or it was this or it was this or it was this. All of that's irrelevant. The only thing that matters is here I am and here's where I want to be. So we think we've accomplished a few things here with you. We think that you are less likely to beat up on yourself about where you are. We think that you are a little less likely to beat up on your mother. It is our expectation that very quickly you're going to find the vibration that is really natural to you, which is a very good feeling vibration, and that all of these symptoms that they've been describing will dissipate immediately. There is nothing that is hereditary. It comes in response to the thoughts that you're thinking. Now, it's easy to pick up thoughts around. In other words, when you live somewhere and you hear people speaking and you get a dose of how they're feeling, it's easy to mimic that. Children do that all the time. That's why all diseases that are called hereditary are not hereditary in the sense that they come through your blood or through your genes. They come through your vibrational pool.
I'm glad to hear that because I want to have a baby. And I've been a little bit worried about passing on my disorder to my child.
The primary disruptive disorder that parent after parent passes on to child after child is an ignoring of one's personal guidance system. Parents work really hard almost the day you're born to get you to not pay attention to the way you feel and to cater to the way they feel. So there is almost an immediate disregard for the only thing that lets you know where you are on the road. And some of you have to sort of get off the road and into the bushes before you are determined to take charge of your own life experience. And once you make that decision, then you attract information that helps you know how to get there, and then you're never ever lost again. And when you know where you're going, then you don't feel so critical of your mother who did not guide you. How would you describe your mother? What do you think is the emotional word that best describes your mother?
I think she's angry.
And can you feel from the discussion that we've had here today that that anger is, in her case also, just like everybody else, her self-survival mechanism to cover the pain of disempowerment that she has felt?
I do.
So if you saw someone in the street bleeding, you'd want to help them. And so when you see your mother angry, wouldn't you like to help her soothe that in some way?
I'd rather be an uplifter rather than getting angry at her being angry.
So she is angry because she's trying to not be depressed. And that's a little simplistic, but it's not too far from what is actually happening. And now you are depressed because of the way your relationship has gone, and then you're angry. And so now you're these two angry people that are bouncing off of each other, and guess how far an angry person can lead another angry person.
I am completely
But in the
aware
moment
of
that you find a little less anger, you'll be able to lead her. And a little less anger, you'll be able to lead her. And to joy, you'll be able to lead her. In other words, she wants this life-giving joy in every bit the same way that you do. Yes. Very good. We are complete. Now, if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would not be too worried about the timing of manifestation. In other words, our attitude would be, this thing that I desire is coming to me, and it is coming in its perfect timing. And we would not try too hard to be the orchestrator of the timing. Some of you say, but what about setting goals? Is not setting a goal a good thing? And we say, setting a goal is a good thing because it causes you to focus. But if you set a goal and you hold yourself rigidly to this goal, and at the same time you're taking score about how things are progressing, and your decision is that things are not progressing as you're wanting them to, then what happens is you're offering powerful energy in two contradictory directions, and it's hard on you. When you want something enough, it will almost override any belief. When you really, really, really want something, it's happening, and you can see the progress of it. But this workshop is about the art of allowing. This is about relaxing and allowing the well-being that is natural to you to flow. And that's the part that we believe that you very often forget about. You forget that you are worthy, blessed beings. You forget that well-being is supposed to flow to you. And we think that sometimes you actually have a question in your mind about whether you will receive what you're wanting to receive. And as we are moving forward here today, we would like to help you relieve yourself of the burden of that erroneous, irrational, incorrect belief. We want you to know that whatever it is that you desire is coming to you. You have witnessed, many of you, someone sitting in the hot seat and us saying to them, we really don't think we should go there. In other words, as they're wanting to vent about where they are, many times you hear us encouraging them to speak more positive words. And we are still powerful advocates of speaking more powerful words. But we are wanting to modify the expression, follow your bliss, to something that is just a little more practical and user-friendly, which is, I will do my best to reach for the best feeling thought that I have access to. Because, think about it. If you reach for the best feeling thought that you have access to, and you consciously acknowledge that you are feeling the relief of that, and then you reach for the best feeling thought that you have access to, and you consciously acknowledge that you are feeling the relief of that, can you see that there is no place that you cannot go? And eventually, you'll be right out there in the sunshine and light with those who so much want you to be there. We notice sometimes that your friends, even though they mean well, are actually happier with you in depression than in anger. Even though anger is better for you. Because your anger is sometimes thrust at them. While your depression, you usually turn inward and you go away and leave them alone. So, as you make a decision that you're going to reach for the best feeling thought that you can find, now you're on the way. The best analogy that we have for that is, as Jerry and Esther were traveling between Phoenix and San Diego, about a 400-mile trip, at about the midway point is Yuma. So there they are on the freeway, on their way to San Diego. And at the point that they are in Yuma, they don't stop and have a nervous breakdown because they're not in San Diego. They just keep pointing in the direction of San Diego, and on they go. But sometimes we think the difference between your known traveling between Phoenix and San Diego is that it is a recognizable distance. It is something that you understand, and you can measure your progress along the way. And as you are measuring your progress along the way, it is absolutely believable that you're going to end up where you want to be. You don't make it as far as Yuma and then cry, oh no, we're in Yuma, and be so upset that you just turn around and go back to Phoenix. You don't just spin around in circles in your frustration in Yuma. You keep heading in the direction of what you are wanting. And that's the thing that we want you to feel here about this quantifiable distance between where you are and where you want to be. Let's say you are sick. Some disease has been diagnosed. So sick with this disease is where you are, and well and disease-free is where you want to be. Let's say that you are deeply in debt and everybody is hounding you for your money. So deeply in debt and in financial trouble is where you are, and debt-free and with lots of money is where you want to be. Let's say that your relationship has fallen apart, or that you haven't been able to find it to begin with, and that what you really want is a delicious, fabulous relationship. So you think in this science of deliberate creation that the distance is no money, more money. Sick body, well body. No lover, want lover. But what we want you to realize is that the distance is feel awful, feel good. The distance is not about the physical manifestation. Well, it is, and the physical manifestation will follow. But what you want to have your eye on, this measurable distance, in other words, the distance between Phoenix and San Diego is in your emotional range. So when you realize that you have strong depression and that you want to feel wonderful, and you find yourself consciously and deliberately in a very angry place, can you see that once you know what you're doing with these emotions, that you could say, I am really, really angry and I'm not in my joy, but I'm almost to Yuma? Can you see that now that you know what you're doing, that you won't be depressed, angry, depressed, angry, depressed, angry, depressed, angry, depressed, angry, depressed, angry. You can be depressed, angry, a little less angry, mad as hell and not going to take it anymore, frustrated out of your mind, irritated beyond belief, overwhelmed, aggravated. lightly frustrated, pessimistic, optimistic, in full belief and knowing well-being. And now you are aware of what your emotions are telling you. Now you'll always know which direction you're facing. You'll always know what direction you're going.